want to welcome you, and I want to welcome our guests. Oh, by the way, this is Miami Community Newspapers, an awesome, incredible media publication company, and I want to present our guests today, Robert Gonzalez and Juan Perez from Peregonza Law, the attorneys. So, gentlemen, can you please introduce yourselves? Tell us what you do.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Juan Perez from Peregonza, the attorneys, and we are a small boutique firm in the heart of Doral. And basically what we do is we help people in the community with several issues that they may have regarding some of the legal matters. Specifically, today we're going to talk about labor and employment, mostly employment, to give people a general understanding of what it is that we do for the community. And a lot of people are facing these issues and they don't even know.
Yeah, Manny, the way that I see it is I like to say that we're problem solvers. And a lot of times, like Juan is saying, there's many people that get taken advantage of every single day. And sometimes they have problems that they don't even know they have. So what do? We talk to people sometimes, we have consultations with them, and we figure out, hey, man, you have this huge problem that you didn't even know you have. Let us help you, because we love helping the community.
Now, we have to go back. We have to go back because to me, it's very important who you are and our relationship. By the way, Peregonza Law, or the attorneys, are actually the official attorneys of the Doral Chamber of Commerce. And I want to say they have protected us many times. Any organization, you need to have some really great attorneys. We ran into you guys a few years ago. You joined the chamber. You guys have not been around for 35 years. I don't think you're 35. So how did you get started? Why are you having so much success so quickly? Let's start with you. I want to know about you guys first, and then we'll talk. We're going to help people out here, which is always my premise. Is let's give information that helps the audience here. So tell us about you guys.
No, absolutely. Look, I think we've been blessed. We started. We went to law school together. I met Robert actually at a barbecue.
He's my best friend.
Yeah, we're best friends. I met him at the law school barbecue day one. He kind of ignored me a little bit, at the beginning because I wasn't cool enough. But with time, I guess we became very, very close, and we understood that we needed to do something more than just friendship and business, and it evolved into that. We had great jobs, great opportunities that were given to us. And, from one day to the next, we decided, we were going to do something ourselves. And we come from very, very similar backgrounds, but we have very, very good set of traits that are very unique. And I think that's the reason why we've been very successful. I'm very, very, I embrace a lot of marketing. I embrace a lot of different things that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners really, really need. And Robert brings in some other qualities that I probably lack, and that's what makes us very, very successful.
I think that's why in this situation that we're having now, the environment that we have right now, you guys are still successful. You still get business because you're continuously following the marketing, growing, being innovative. Like this show, this is innovative. We're on Facebook Live today. This will get streamed. We will, as the Doral Chamber, we're going to spread this out throughout our community. Pass beyond the distribution of this program is going to be important. So you guys are active.
If I may say, I mean, to your point, I do think that we're innovative, but I think that the reason that we're innovative with marketing is because, you have to get credit where credit is due. And I believe that we've been blessed. It does, whether you believe in God or not, you have to understand that sometimes you're blessed in life, right? Mm-hmm. And we've been blessed with many good mentors like Manny Sarmiento, like you. We were blessed enough to run by one of the greatest chambers that Miami-Dade County has, the Doral Chamber of Commerce. We had people like you who give us advice on a daily basis. And I think the biggest thing about having good mentors, right? Like my mentor, Nelson Diaz, I have other mentors. Juan is my mentor. Everybody needs people that are going to point them in the right direction. And if you do have, or if you are blessed with a good mentor, right? What you have to do is be able to listen. Never be arrogant. Mm-hmm. Never be arrogant. Understand that you don't know everything. And when people tell you something, you have to take it into consideration and then apply it. And I think that that's what makes a good business person. The people that are able to listen, take good advice, implement that good advice, sky is the limit.
And if I may add, we both come from very, very humble families. We're from South Florida. We came from immigrant families. We started our lives here, and we're not from upscale or anything like that. We've actually worked very, very hard to get to this point. And I think that's a very good something that we have to mention, because to some degree it lets us be relatable to a lot of the issues that people are facing nowadays, because we've been in those positions. we understand what's happening out there. We've lived it.
And we've seen, and we started the chamber back in 2008, and what we've seen is a lot of issues with immigrants coming to the country, and they get taken advantage of because they don't have good representation. They'll go to some mom and pop company that says, oh, we do all the kinds of services. But for instance, forming a corporation, I've seen companies, I've seen people get charged $3,000 to open a corporation. And what does it cost, right? $87.50, right? Plus having a good attorney as being the registered agent. So get good representation, if anything. But one of the things I want to go back to what you said, Rob, is prayer is great. But what you guys do is the old Quaker saying, as you pray, move your feet.
Absolutely.
You guys are hustling. And in this time, it's especially important to hustle, get moving, do whatever it takes to learn the technology. As I tell people, I'm always learning. Mm-hmm. I'm always at the end of the day, through 2 o'clock in the morning, whenever my day ends, I'm on YouTube watching something and learning something. Yeah. Okay. Every day I learn something, and then you move, you may take action, like doing this show.
I also have to say that, it's also attributed to the why you do things, right? Why do you really do things? Because
Find
a lot of times people start businesses because they want to make money, and everybody wants to make money. Money's great. But to Juan's point, we are the sons of immigrants, right? And I remember when I was growing up, my parents didn't really have that person that they can go to. Just like you said, there's a lot of mom and pop shops that they don't have your best interest in mind, right? So I have to say that when I met Juan and when we were in law school, the reason we were there is because we wanted to help our community. See, every time I sit down and I'm talking to a client, I see my mom, I see my dad. My mom cleaned houses for years and never opened a corporation. Right? She could have written several things off in her taxes. She could have set up several things that could have protected her, but she didn't know. And it's not because she didn't want to. It's because nobody ever told her. My dad could have started his own business. He could have done many, many things, but he didn't have that orientation. So from the beginning, we wanted to cater to the Hispanic community to the extent that just a year and a half ago, we changed our name to Peregonza Los Abogados. And the reason being is because we're sons of immigrants, okay? We love America and we love the American dream. So we try to provide services to our clients so that we can help them pursue the American dream, because pursuing the American dream is also about protecting your rights.
Absolutely.
Did you notice we're all wearing the American flag, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
All
Amen.
time.
Absolutely.
Besides our daily check, when we came in here, we had our temperature checked, and
we're safe.
We're safe. We're safe. We've been checked out. So one of the things, you guys are, I think, about the most handsome attorney firm in Miami. So do me a favor, lower your microphone a little bit so people can see your face.
Absolutely. Robert is more of the model type.
The model, yeah. See him
No,
above,
man.
but
I get tips from him. Let me tell you, man. I used to dress. My dressing game wasn't there. Now every once in a while he tells me nice shoes.
I need to.
All the time. The ties
I'm gonna hit you up for tips because
the ties,
especially the weight gain
we have
thing.
Clients,
that's tough.
we have clients that come in and sometimes they look at Juan and they're like, "Is that George Clooney?" I'm like, "No, it's not George Clooney. It's Juan Perez."
All right. So let's talk business now. We're here talking about employment law, and one of the reasons I want to bring you guys in is because, as I said, in 13 years with the chamber, we've seen a lot of stuff. Let me start off with. I think the most important thing. Let's talk about the independent contractor versus an employee. Okay, why that is so important to understand the difference, and why you just can't pay everybody as an independent contractor.
I'll tell you very, very simply, 2 words: unpaid wages. Right? Unpaid wages. That sounds unfair, right? Unpaid wages sounds like I worked and you didn't pay me. That's exactly what happens when somebody is misclassified as a 1099 as opposed to a W-2. Okay? We live in Miami. Let's be honest. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of people trying to cut corners. So what ends up happening, especially with immigrants, okay? And I take this personally because I'm a son of an immigrant. So I take this very, very personally.
They get taken advantage of.
They get taken advantage of every single day. Because, for example, I worked construction before law school. And I'll tell you, sometimes you have companies that will pay somebody a daily wage. And they pay you as a 1099. But you have to do certain things that the law would classify you to be an employee, W-2, right?
Mm.
What's the difference between a 1099 and a W-2? Many things. Among those things is that a W-2, the employer or your boss is required to pay taxes for your salary, okay, or whatever your hourly wage is, okay? And aside from that, they have to give you certain benefits regarding how many hours you work, and they have to pay you what's called overtime. What is overtime? Any time that you work over 40 hours in 1 week, okay, every hour over the 40, they have to pay you time and a half. So let's give an example.
Mandatory. That's
Mandatory.
Okay.
So let's give an example. Let's say you make $10
There are
an
some
hour.
exceptions.
There's some exceptions,
Okay.
right? But let's say you make $10 an hour. If you make $10 an hour and you work 41 hours in 1 week, then your boss is required as a W-2 employee to pay you $15 for that 1 hour that you went over the 40. So what do a lot of business owners, people that want to cut corners do? They classify people as 1099s where they don't have that restriction. They don't have to pay you overtime, right? You're an independent contractor, but an employer does not decide what an independent contractor is. The law decides what an independent contractor is.
Can we cover some of those points that might declassify you as an independent contractor? For instance, if I tell you your schedule, you have to be here 9 to 5, and you have to be in our office and use our computer. So examples like that.
Yeah, I'll make it as quickly and easy to understand as possible. When we think of an independent contractor, we think of somebody who's going to come do a job one time generally, and they're going to get paid, and they could go do another job. So in other words, we think of a painter, we think of a plumber, we think those are independent contractors. Those are people who are coming to do a specific task. They're going to get paid for that task, and then they can freely go work for anybody else and do whatever they have to do. They're working independently. That's what independent contractor means. That's the general understanding of it.
Now, can a big company hire an independent contractor?
All the time.
All the time.
So the big company would say, okay, I want you to complete this website for us.
They have no control over these individuals.
So
that's the key.
So the difference. So it's clear. Okay, I need you to complete this website for me. Okay, do it on your own. I'm going to pay you this much for the project.
Mhm.
That's an independent contract.
Yes,
right?
that's
generally.
If I tell you, I want you to complete this website for me, but I need you to be here 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I need you to clock in.
Use my computer.
Wear this uniform.
Wear this uniform. That declassifies you.
Now we're getting into like a possibility of being an employee.
So what can happen to me as an employer who does that? Who says, okay, I got you as an independent contractor, but I'm requiring that you wear the uniform, sit here 9 to 5, clock in, use our equipment. So what happens to me?
Okay, so some business owners are cutting corners. Others are just ignorantly not understanding the law. And what it comes down to is that obviously because they're being classified as an independent contractor, that individual that's getting paid $500, it's not really getting paid $500 because they're having to pay their own taxes from it, right? So at the end of the day, they're really getting paid probably $420.
Wait a second. The independent contractors file taxes at the end of the year?
Yes, that's correct. They have to file taxes.
That's
on
another
But
thing
you
we've
see-
seen so badly.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they don't
But you
realize
see-
they have to pay taxes.
Do you
on
see
that.
why it's so lucrative for some to cut corners? Because they're evading having to pay the taxes for the employee and putting that burden on the employee, right? And aside from that, they're evading from having to pay the time and a half, right?
Exactly.
But they
It's-
have full control of the employee. And in many times, it's like Juan is saying, some people do it maliciously, and then there's other people who just don't know. They don't know because they don't have an attorney that they've ever talked to, or they don't have a business owner that they've ever talked to that tells them, hey man, listen, you cannot do this. They're just trying to survive, right? So anybody who has a business really needs to sit down with an attorney, right? We do free consultations all the time. You need to sit down with an attorney and just understand what your rights are and understand how you can do things properly and how you can't do things properly. Because sometimes you do it unknowingly. You just basically say, if I pay them like this, then I don't have to pay all these things. And if I pay them like this, then I have to pay these things. Obviously, I'm going to pay them like this, but you don't decide that.
And then another problem is what I call the Miami effect, which is basically because everybody in Miami is doing it, then it must be the right way.
Right.
Right. And what they don't realize is that they're doing it wrong and everybody's doing it wrong. That doesn't make it right. Now, to add to what Robert said, there's also the portion of the employee which ultimately the employee is really getting the worst part of this, because the employer to some degree can manage themselves, they have the funds, but the employee doesn't know any better. So the employee ends up being in a worse position by being misclassified. Some people even choose to be misclassified, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Wow.
When you realize that you're ultimately leaving money on the table by making the wrong classification, because it doesn't benefit you in any way that you're paying a double portion of your taxes. That doesn't make any sense.
But it also seems, and it happened to us, it seemed complicated. Okay, wow, we got to go to payroll. Oh, how do we do this payroll? This is all, you got to fill out this form. You got this tax, that tax, this tax. The employer has to pay that. At the end of the year, you have to charge. So, we thank goodness we found Paychecks. I don't know what company you use. We use Paychecks, and they took care of the entire situation. But do you find that to be a fact, that these companies figure that it's so complicated to do? Because you can't get it's hard to use a payroll program. You still have to fill out the right forms, file electronically or whatever, and at the end of the year you have to do your taxes.
Absolutely. But Manny, the issue that a lot of employers and business owners have is that, unfortunately, ignorance is not a defense. So the law is not going to look at, hey man, I didn't know how to do it, it was too difficult, as a way for you to get out of an issue. So this is why people like Juan and I come into play, because we're problem solvers. We can help you solve that problem, right? We can recommend companies like Paycheck, for example, that are going to come in and they're going to do your payroll. But just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean that you're able to do it the wrong way. Okay. Because at the end of the day, what happens is the government actually protects the employee.
I heard we teach QuickBooks at the Doral Chamber of Commerce, and one of the instructors always prefaced the class with saying, the Department of Revenue is worse than the IRS if you mess with them.
It's true.
I mean, that's where you pay your payroll taxes, and part of your payroll taxes through. Okay, so is that the truth? I mean, what can happen? What's the legal ramification of?
Well, I mean, you can get causes of actions against you in federal court, for misclassifying someone, which ultimately means that the business would have to pay the employee at some portion all of the taxes that were due. Maybe it could be for years. Wow. And it gets very, very muddy and complicated.
Penalties, fees,
fines, all sorts of different things. So,
and I think the biggest thing that people need to know is that the government understands that the little guy is not going to be able to afford an attorney to fight against the big guy. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be able to afford an attorney to fight against the employer. And some employers know that. But what some employers don't know,
here's the part,
is that the federal government has provided a law that states that if you're an employee and you're getting taken advantage of, and you can prove it in court, then it is the employer, your boss, that needs to pay our fees. Wow. That's why in these cases, we take them personally. We take these cases personally. So in these cases, we actually take them to the point where you don't owe us anything unless we win the case.
Wow, that's great, because that was one of my things. You guys look expensive.
Which is a very good point that Robert is bringing up. If you think you're saving something,
you're not.
And you end up misclassifying someone and you can prove it in court, you're not really saving anything. In fact, you're putting yourself in such a position that ultimately it can open a can of worms for multiple employees or misclassified employees. So it's a spiral effect. And if you do it wrong one time and you think you're getting away with it, it eventually could start coming all back, because everything starts to flow and people start talking to others and then realize, hey, I am in the same position too. Next thing you know, you have 10 lawsuits in federal court against you.
Now, can somebody actually be using an independent contractor and then get sued, right, and lose? That happens all the time.
Really? Even though they've...
Sometimes the employers get taken advantage of. But it's like I said, ignorance is not a defense. So you have to have things in place that make it clear that this person is an independent contractor. For example, if you make them sign a contract that says employee on it, then they're going to be able to make an argument in court that they are not a 1099. So you guys have an understanding that this person is a 1099, but you made him sign a contract that he's an employee. Are there sharks out there that are looking for companies to destroy and just make a buck out of? Of course there are. So the employer needs to protect themselves as well. They need to understand that they need to put things in place to make it clear to the law that this is a 1099 employee and this is why. As a matter of fact, the burden of proof is on the employer to prove that the employee is a W-2 or a 1099 and was paid accurately.
Okay, good. All right.
So they have to, what he's bringing up is that they have to have good record keeping.
Good record keeping.
And if you don't have good record keeping, you're in a really bad scenario.
And if you're using independent contractors, I understand it's a good idea to have an independent contractor agreement.
Absolutely.
Yes, it helps.
Okay.
It's not something where it's a slam dunk. It helps.
It helps.
But again, it's the cost of litigation for the business owner to be protecting themselves. And then from the employee aspect of it, it's the fact that there are no, the attorney's fees don't come, you don't have to pay for it. The attorneys are going to get paid based on the recovery.
Great.
So ultimately, if the employee feels that they're in this scenario and they might be, I'm not sure if they're paying me correctly. And there are some scenarios where you can pay people's salary. So there are some, we're talking here generally, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you feel that you're in this position, then you have nothing to worry about in terms of the cost, because you can go to any attorney who practices, hopefully us, in employment, and they're going to be able to say, I think you have a good case here, and I think we can make a recovery.
Okay, let's recap one thing before we move on, because I want to talk about another couple other subjects. If to define an independent contractor, let me see if I'm clear, and you guys correct me. You cannot tell them to have a specific schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot be clocking in or out with a specific schedule. You can, these are some of the indicators, not necessarily
right.
Using your company equipment. You have to use our equipment in the company. You have
Uniform.
It's like a pendulum, and there are factors, right? So the more factors that indicate one thing, you're going to have a stronger case in court. There is absolutely no way that we can just talk to a business owner and immediately make that determination on just one or two things. There are more things that go into it. And ultimately, this is a fight that you have to have in court if it ever is brought up. So you want to have the best chances. You want to have as many factors swinging your way in the pendulum so that you can make that defense.
Yeah, the best way to do it is always talk to an attorney.
Fantastic.
Speak with an attorney, talk to them about your business, talk to them about the relationship, and they're going to be able to point you in the right direction. Is it going to be foolproof? It's never going to be foolproof, but they're going to be able to point you in the right direction and help you make the right decisions.
So free consultations, right? If they have any questions, employer, employee.
Yes.
Okay, great. You guys had given me some talking points about minimum. I want to make sure we cover two more subjects. One is the minimum wage you guys covered here, and the new laws relating to, some people are calling it the C laws, COVID law. So what did you want to cover on minimum wage? Because what we want to do here is give you some great information that helps you, that protects you. That's always my point of view. So what are the points here about minimum wage? What are some of the situations that you've seen, and how can you help?
I can tell you that people don't want to admit this, okay? And I'm not going to get political. People don't want to admit this, but if you want to see modern day slavery, you can go to Homestead and you can go to places in California and Arizona, and you can see modern day slavery. And I tell you this as an immigrant. And many factors that go into slavery are because people that come to this country illegally get taken advantage of every single day, right? Because they're not being paid what the mandated minimum wage is in the state. Some of these people are making $1 a day.
What industries? You talking about farming?
I can tell
hospitality?
I can tell you that this happens all across the board. Okay, it happens. It happens in convenience stores, right? It happens in farming and agriculture. It happens in mechanic shops, believe it or not.
Really?
It happens in barber shops.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
It's like Robert was mentioning earlier about the mom. She had all these potential things that she could do, but she didn't know. So there's no way you're going to be able to protect yourself. Same example here. Many of the people that Robert is talking about, they're just going on with their lives and they think this is what is fine. This is okay. And they don't realize that they're actually being taken advantage of to some degree.
There are new laws in the state of Florida, right? The minimum wage laws now, it's what, $10 now? When does that take effect?
No, it hasn't taken effect yet. Is $8.65.
At 65. When does it go up to 10? 'Cause it's going up to 10.
I think that they're going to be progressively getting to $15
As time
yearly,
goes by.
Right. I think there's one that's coming up this year, right? One of those levels.
Steps.
One of those steps. Okay. So what does the law have to say about minimum wage?
Well, what the law basically says is that several different states have it, several different states, and at this point, there's a federal law that acknowledges what the minimum a person can get paid on an hourly basis is. So that means that if you pay them less than that, right? If you pay them less than that, then you're actually breaking the law. And this is how slavery gets done, right? There's various different employers, various different companies that find ways to manipulate the system so that they don't have to pay minimum wage, or they pay people under the table, which is wrong. It's actually wrong. And then some people are happy to receive the money under the table because they're just happy to have an opportunity. But what they don't know is they're getting taken advantage of. They're not getting paid the adequate amount of money that they should be paid. And at the end of the day, there are also laws that state that there are some requirements as to, for example, let's say that you think that you may be infected with a virus, right? There's a terrible virus right now. Right? If you think that you are infected by a virus and you need to go get tested, there's actually law mandates that demand that you have to get paid. You have to get paid during that time. It doesn't work in every industry. It doesn't work in every scenario. Okay. But there is a law that says that. So at the end of the day, if you're not getting paid for that time, guess what? You're not getting paid minimum wage because we're not counting those hours that you worked. So at the end of the day, rather than making $15 an hour, $8 an hour, you were making $4 an hour. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not counting those 4 hours.
There are some industries as well that they're allowed to pay less, like restaurants and stuff like that, depending on the position in the industry. But those are very, very difficult things to analyze. We're talking about, generally speaking, you want to be able to get paid at least the minimum wage. And anytime we think about the easiest way to make it for people to understand is we got to think about red flags. If you're getting paid cash, that's a red flag, right? You're not supposed to be getting paid cash because that means that nobody's reporting these taxes and nobody's actually paying taxes on your behalf. So if you're in an industry you're going to work every single day, right? And you are getting paid cash, maybe that's something that you should look into, whether you're getting paid minimum wage or not. And another issue that comes around is like overtime. This is how you can go around certain things. For example, paying cash, you can avoid paying overtime because on the books, there's no way you're going to be able to show that you worked over 40 hours, right? Yeah. So these are red flags. These are the red flags that every employee should be concerned about and should be looking to see if their employer is following the laws.
Okay, so what if I have a minimum wage claim? How do you guys handle that? What protections does that person have?
Well, if there's a minimum wage claim, we have to look at the records. Obviously, we need to know a little bit of the story. We need to know a little bit of how long they've been working there. We need to have a little bit of an understanding of what the case is generally. And then, like we said earlier, a lot of this shifts back to the employer, and the employer has to be able to show with records that we're wrong. And many times, because we're in Miami, a lot of people don't know how to do record keeping. And it turns out they don't have any form of response. And that's a win for the employee because you're going to have a very good likelihood of winning that case.
As a matter of fact, employers that pay their employees cash, that is a big mistake. It's a big mistake. And some employers, they maybe do it to try to be nice to the employee, right? They're trying to give the employee cash rather than give them a paycheck because maybe they don't want to pay taxes, whatever it is. You're not supposed to do that. Not only are you not supposed to do that, but if you find yourself with a minimum wage claim or an overtime claim, you're going to have to prove that you paid them. And if you paid them cash, it's going to be almost impossible for you to prove that you actually paid them.
All right, awesome. We've had some great conversations here, and we've got about 2 minutes left. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you guys for how you have protected us, the Doral Chamber of Commerce, the relationship that we have, what you guys do for the community. I see your signs all over high schools and middle schools, I just told you about South Miami has some space there. We want to see a Peregonza.
Absolutely.
So make sure that you contact Peregonza Law. Now, I want to thank Michael Miller, Grant Miller, the whole Miami Communities newspaper family here, including Tommy, our director, Carmen, our VP, the lovely Carmen. She's sitting in the back over there. We'll make sure we get a picture of her and post her on Facebook. Share this information. This is good stuff. Make sure you call Peregonza Law. And one of the things that Michael, I have to follow his tradition. He likes to, and by the way, you said you were an immigrant. You are from Nicaragua, right?
No, Guatemala.
Guatemala, and you are Cuban.
My parents are Cuban, but I was born in Costa Rica.
Okay, I was born in Cuba. Came here 6 years old. So Michael always likes to hear. He is in the background there. He likes for you guys to tell our kids who are watching. Hopefully, they're watching. They're getting informed. Is to tell them something about how they can live a better life and be better people. And I know you guys are motivational speakers also. So go ahead.
Robert, go ahead.
So I was having a conversation with my daughter the other day.
Talk to the camera. They want to see you. They're looking at you.
I was having a conversation with my daughter the other day, and she does dance, and she was telling me, Dad, I don't think I'm very good at dance. She's only been doing it for like 2 weeks. And I said, baby, in life, and my parents told me this, and my parents taught me this, in life, you have to keep trying. Many times, you're not going to be the best. But if you try and you give it 110% and you put forth the maximum effort, I guarantee you that you're going to succeed. And I can tell you, as a kid that grew up in Miami, I grew up poor. All the odds were stacked against me. I have many friends in federal prison, not friends, but many people that grew up with me that ended up in prison, that I considered my friends when I was younger. These people made the wrong choices in life. I made the right choices in life. Why? Because my parents taught me to believe in myself. So if I can tell anybody out there, if I can give any kid advice, it's the advice that my parents gave to me. Believe in yourself and try as hard as you can. And even when you fail, try harder.
That's very hard to beat.
Hard to follow up on that.
Yeah. Robert always does that. But I gotta say, what it really comes down to is you have to be optimistic. You gotta have good work ethic. You have to be able to know that no matter what, even if people think that you're not capable of something, it's not about them, it's about you. Just today, I was watching a video about NASA and how they actually get people to go to space together. And in the 80s, the way that they would choose the astronauts is that they would put them in a room and they would just kind of work together and they would talk for hours and hours and hours. And they would choose the people based on the fact that they had great conversations. Why? Because you have to spend your entire weeks and months in space with this person. So you want to be able to surround yourself with people who are going to make a difference in your life. Drop everybody who's not making a difference in your life. Drop everything that is making you set yourself back. You have to do things that are really going to make you successful in life. And I love the quote from, I think it's Benjamin Franklin, that he says, I'm a strong believer in luck. The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Love it. With that said, I want to thank Rob and Juan from Peregonza Law, the attorneys, los abogados. My name is Manny Sarmiento, Doral Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very, very much, Michael, Grant, the entire Miami Communities newspaper family. Make sure you share this. This is great information that you need to know. And if you need free consultation, the information will be on our website. You can contact me. Thank you very, very much. God bless you. Have an amazing, wonderful day.
Thanks, Manny.